Your girl Amanda, and we are back with another episode of Thompson and Stuff. I just want to start off with Happy Easter. It is Easter, soon to be weekend. Today is Thursday. I have been watching a lot of documentaries, getting a lot of content for you guys. I know people have been asking me, where's the new episode of Thompson and Stuff that is ready? I'm actually going to record that tomorrow for you. But for today's episode of, actually, not Thompson and Stuff, Mandy's Entertainment Reviews. Oh, geez. When you have two podcasts, please forgive me. But we're back with another episode of Mandy's Entertainment Reviews. And this episode, we are recording for the Carters Hurts to Love You documentary. So this documentary, it was on Paramount Plus, which is a great option for a documentary because honestly, this documentary was very heavy, and I couldn't see it being on like MTV or VH1 or anything like that. And honestly, when I watch documentaries on HBO Max, it was too heavy even for HBO Max. Even though yes, the Carters is a musical family, Nick, Aaron, Leslie. Angel, I don't think she was a singer, but mainly the documentary focused on Nick and Aaron. So it was on Paramount Plus, and it was released April 2025, so probably about a couple weeks ago or so. Sorry. So my thoughts of this documentary, it was well produced. I don't want to say, it was a good documentary, because if I say it was a good documentary, I would feel horrible, because again, this documentary was so heavy to watch. Like, the older I get, I guess I'm getting more soppier, because I legit cried at this documentary. It was so heavy on my heart. It was actually produced by Soleil Moon Frye. And if you don't recognize that name, if you're about my age, because I don't remember Punky Brewster, but she was Punky Brewster. But my people my age, we remember her as Roxy from Sabrina the Teenage Witch. And mind you, Roxy's character didn't come till like Sabrina was in college, because she used to share like an apartment with her, and then they ended up moving into Sabrina's house with Aunt Hilda and the other auntie. I forgot her name, but I'm sorry. So yeah, she actually produced this along with Angel Carter Conrad, because she is married. And I also did like the fact that they chose them to produce the documentary, because if you go back and you watch it's this other documentary on ID, which that documentary is on HBO Max as well. It's about Nick and Aaron, just solely Nick and Aaron. And I think this one is about the entire family, mom, dad, all the brothers and sisters. So the one on HBO Max, those were basically like the victims of the things that Nick Carter and Aaron Carter allegedly did. But this one was based off Soleil Moon Frye, she worked with them directly, I should say. Soleil Moon Frye, she actually filmed Nick Carter talking to Angel. Angel was a big part, her voice was a big part of the documentary. So I think this one would be more accurate, because it does involve Angel, who is a sister, and then Soleil Moon Frye, who was actually there to see everything and put in the documentary. As you guys know, how I record my entertainment reviews is KWL, know, want to know, and learn. So I always start with know. And I've been a lifelong Aaron Carter fan. If you guys know me, you know I love the hell out of Aaron Carter, and I was just devastated when he passed away. So I know a lot about the family. I didn't want to put everything in my know, because, it'll be a long episode. So I just put down a few facts. The first know is that I know that Nick Carter joined the Backstreet Boys at 13. He is the youngest member of the Backstreet Boys. So he was like a little pipsqueak when he joined the Backstreet Boys. And then eventually, as the Backstreet Boys' fame grew, his voice got stronger. And then he became like the heartthrob, like the number one heartthrob of Backstreet Boys. And then after Nick joined the Backstreet Boys, and then his fame skyrocketed, Aaron had his fame and it skyrocketed, and he was only 10 years old. The Carters had a TV show on E! It was called The House of Carters. There are full episodes on YouTube. I do go back and watch them from time to time, just to see like the nostalgia of the technology and the clothing and all that stuff. Now, I remember when it first came out on TV, it was like 2006. So this was like a year before the Kardashians. And I think House of Carters was like 8 episodes. I distinctly remember watching the episode where their father, Bob, visited them with his wife, their stepmom. I remember watching the last episode where they packed up the house, because actuality, I found out when I was an adult that the house that they stayed in, it was just a rental. It was a nice house. I remember it was being on the market for like $1.9 million or something. Eventually somebody bought it, but that show was on E. And then as the 2000s progressed, there were times where there were viral moments thanks to TV shows like The Soup and all that stuff. So if you guys remember, or if you don't, it's on YouTube right now, is the fight between Nick and Aaron, when Nick broke down about how Aaron was hanging out with his ex-girlfriend Paris in his Cadillac. We got to mention his Cadillac because he sounded real hurt about that in his Cadillac. Shoot. All right then. Another thing I knew is that Nick and Aaron both had DUIs. I think that was like the late 2010s. That's when their DUIs happened. It was time apart, but they had it around the same time in the 2000s. Also, Nick Carter wrote a book. Now, y'all know I'm not the biggest Nick Carter fan anymore after, the sexual assault charges, or not charges, but the allegations and stuff came out. I'm just like kind of hesitant about Nick. But I do know that he did write a book. I did buy the book. But the thing was, my attention just could not stay on the book. Like, I couldn't get past the first chapter. Either it was kind of boring or it just wasn't for me. I couldn't get past the first chapter. So I didn't buy like the physical copy where like I can just pull it off a shelf and go back. I ended up buying like the ebook version of it, so I just easily deleted it. I guess I wasn't interested. I don't know. But let's see. He wrote a book. I did mention he was the youngest member. So again, this documentary does cover the parents. So Jane and Bob Carter, who's the name of the Carter kids' parents, they owned a retirement home. They're from New York. They ended up moving from New York to Florida, opening a retirement home. And also in New York, I think it was Bob's father owned a bar. So that also kind of contributed to Nick Carter's drinking. And also when it comes to Bob and Jane, obviously they spent all of Aaron's money. I guess in California, when you're like a child star or something, you're supposed to have like some sort of account. And they just did not do a good job of maintaining the money in there, because once Aaron turned 18, he only had like $2 million. Now, I know normal people like you and me who don't have $2 million in the bank, you're probably thinking, well, it's $2 million. He got some money. You have to understand, Aaron Carter was a major pop star from the age of like 8 years old. So if you do videos like Come Get It, I Want Candy, Come Get It, I Want Candy, I'm All About You, Summertime, I remember that video, and you are selling like gold and platinum albums or whatever, you're bound to have like maybe close to $100 million. But because Jane and Bob mishandled his money, he didn't have $100 million. He was short $98 million. He only had $2 million. But I also want to get into something else I learned about his financial situation. I will get into that in a minute. Let's see. Bob was an alcoholic. I think it doesn't surprise us of how that family is. Jane was arrested for breaking into the house in Florida while Bob was in his bedroom with his new wife or whatever. And then a fight broke out, and Jane ended up getting arrested, and Aaron bailed her out. Let's see. Nick and Aaron, they had like an up and down relationship. It was very rare that you would see them together after the House of Carters. To my knowledge, the last time I saw Nick and Aaron together was on I Heart Nick Carter. I never saw an episode of I Heart Nick Carter. I guess it was something I kind of forgot about because it was about him marrying Lauren, his wife. So I guess they had like a whole reality show about that. But I saw him on there. Was he at the wedding? I'm not sure. I've seen footage of the wedding, but I'm not sure if he was actually there. So, but they've had an up and down relationship, and then in Aaron's final years, it got worse. It got very toxic. So, to a point where Nick put a restraining order out on Aaron. So very, very up and down. So there were 5 Carter children. You got Nick, BJ, Leslie, and Aaron and Angel are twins. Okay? Nick is alive. BJ passed away in 2023. Leslie passed away in 2012. Angel is alive, and Aaron passed away in 2022, I believe. So there are only 2 remaining Carter siblings, which I think is just the saddest thing ever. And the Carter siblings who passed away, they were so young, and their deaths were affiliated with drugs and addiction, which it just makes this story much sadder, honestly. So, and currently, Nick and Angel do have a foundation regarding mental health, and they are promoting that a lot. I remember they had like a charity thing in honor of Aaron, like right after he passed away. I think that whole concert is somewhere on YouTube. I sat and watched that too, and had tears in my eyes as well. So the next step is I wanted to know, even though, the Carters were alcoholics and, a lot of drama and stuff, did they have any normal stories of childhood? Did they go to Disney World? Did they have cookouts in backyards? Did they go to church? I wanted to know those type of things. I wanted to know their education background, despite them being major pop stars. Did they go to regular school? What was the highest grade they completed? Was Nick and Aaron there for each other during their tough times, i.e. the DUIs? I understand they had like restraining orders against Aaron, so not during that time, but like right around when Nick was getting in trouble. And I think this was before he married his wife. So I want to know, were they there for each other during that time? Where was Nick when Aaron died? Does Nick have a relationship with Aaron's son, Prince? So my original question when it came to this was, does Nick and Angel have a relationship with Aaron's son, Prince? So they had a premiere regarding the documentary, and I saw pictures of Angel holding Prince because he's only like probably 2-3 years old. So they do have a relationship. I guess he does know Angel as his aunt, so I'm very glad to know that. And I also wanted to know, how close is Angel and Nick as the surviving siblings? I inquired about that because I know Nick lives in Vegas, and I think Angel lives in LA or Florida. I'm not sure, but I just wanted to know the closeness, even though they probably live in different states. The documentary was 2 parts. So the first part was them telling the story of their childhoods, and then the second part was basically the downfall of the Carter family. The first thing I learned was that Aaron got into singing because of Nick. I always knew that, Aaron looked up to Nick, but I always thought it was this is my big brother type, situation. But no, he got into singing because of Nick. Soleil Moon Frye, she did the documentary, did a wonderful job. Aaron and Angel were, again, our twins, but it was a surprise to Nick and Jane. And even though you have twins, it'll always be a surprise. So they were surprise babies to Jane and Bob. Aaron was a charmer as a kid, but Angel was quiet. So, they are twins, but they are opposite. Aaron and Angel are a minute apart. So I could imagine like the arguments of, I'm older, I can do this, you're younger, you can't do that. I could honestly see that because I don't know a lot of twins, but the twins, I went to, I think, elementary school with a set of twins, and I remember them having arguments because they were like seconds or minutes apart, and they couldn't do something because they were like older and younger or whatever. It's very complex. They always tell me that's like, man, it's so complex. Let's see. Bobby Jean was maternal, and Leslie wanted to be loved. Now, I remember watching, not during 2006, but when I first discovered the full episodes of House of Carters on YouTube. I remember discovering those, and even though they didn't have to say it for me to see that, well, how do I word this? I saw it on the House of Carters, but I guess I just needed to hear it from a family member directly. If you guys remember, Leslie, you could tell she was struggling with something. Her outburst, all that stuff. So she just wanted to be loved. She always had like some sort of issue with her family members. And, you know, she was always fighting with her sisters, yelling at Nick, yelling at Aaron. And I honestly, now that I'm an adult and I saw it as an adult and I can think about it as an adult, that is 1,000% true. Bobby Jean was maternal, and I go back to watching House of Carters. Bobby Jean was kind of like the mom of the group in a way. She was like the house mom, you know, directing her siblings. I remember that so vividly. So maybe I just wanted to hear the siblings say that, but I definitely saw it in the House of Carters. Aaron started touring at the age of 10. Now, I look back, oh my God, Aaron was doing his thing. This is what I used to think, y'all. Oh my God, Aaron is doing his thing. He's singing, you know, it's a blessing because, you know, not a lot of kids of his talent does that. I look back at it now, I'm 30 years old. Aaron had no business touring at 10 years old. And I also want to throw this in there too. Michael Jackson had no business touring at his young age. Even though, yes, touring that young, they eventually built up this career, great, yay, whatever. But honestly, 10-year-olds should take the time to be kids, honestly. If my kid came to me and said, I want to sing and dance, I would put them in years of singing and dancing training until they're like 18, and that's when they can go on tour or sign with a record label or whatever. But honestly, at 10 years old, that was just too young. You have to go to school. You have to just learn how to be a kid and learn social skills and all that stuff, you know. Let's see. And also, when it comes to Michael Jackson, his musical director did compare Aaron and Michael Jackson to each other. I guess that's why they became friends, too, as well, because they basically lived the same life, being pushed by their parents. This is all Bob and Jane's fault, and I'm sorry, God rest the day of Bob, but this was his parents' fault of him being pushed too hard. And also, this is what I learned because Bob was the business manager. He handled money. Jane was the regular everyday manager. And they bribed him because he was a kid with gifts for him to work. That's not right in my eyes. That doesn't make no type of sense. Why did the Carter family have dysfunction? Because Bob and Jane Carter came from dysfunction themselves, and they did not take the opportunity to break the cycle. They did not look around and say, oh my God, you know what? We don't want this for our children. They didn't break the cycle. So the cycle of dysfunction continued with the Carter family because of Bob and Jane not taking accountability and saying, hey, our situation was messed up, blah, blah, blah. All right, let's see what else. Bob cheated on Jane a lot. Do I need to say more? The Carters had an LA home. I remember reading Aaron Carter's biography, but it wasn't like a full book. It was like probably a few pages. They had a house in LA. They lived in it for like maybe a year or two. But in the documentary, the tour manager, Lori, she came to the house for the first time and she stated that the house was not well taken care of. That's kind of scary. Either they were too lazy to hire someone or they were just never home to take care of that beautiful house. They actually showed footage of the beautiful house. It was beautiful. And they had a fountain and it just wasn't taken care of, which makes no sense to me. Like the fountain had green water in it. Ew, that's nasty. Their tour manager was a actual teacher, like a dance teacher or something before becoming a tour manager. So basically, the Carters just picked Lori out and said, "Hey, come work with us." Basically, this is the thing I really loved, and I didn't put it in my like and love list. Scout Willis, who was the daughter of Demi Moore and Bruce Willis, she got to actually tell her story of how she met Aaron Carter and how they didn't really become friends, but, you know, she met her celebrity crush and basically he got to hang out with her and actually experience what it was like to have a kid's birthday party, which is so messed up that Aaron probably doesn't know what it was like to have a kid's birthday party. But he got to experience it because of Scout Willis. And she seems like just a cool girl. And I'm glad that, you know, Scout actually gave him that experience. So, yeah. Angel was essayed by, it was relative to essay on a tour bus because she was left alone a lot. And also what I learned was that I keep saying Nick, Bob and Jane they weren't the best parents to those kids. Honestly, and I'm just scared to say it out loud because I don't want nobody coming to me and saying, well, you don't know them people. No, they just don't seem like the best parents to me. That's all. BJ didn't get a lot of coverage in this documentary. Not as much as Aaron and Nick, but then again, BJ, she wasn't famous, you know what I mean? I think she was a stylist or something I think that was either BJ or, no, Angel was a model. BJ was like a stylist or something because Leslie was a singer. But they didn't really cover BJ like that. So BJ was drinking tequila at 19 and she was full-blown addicted to drugs by the age of 13. Another example of Bob and Jane in their shenanigans of ignoring their children. Their non-famous children, I should say. So when Bob and Jane divorced, Angel went to go live with Bob and Aaron went to live with Jane. And honestly, I learned this, but I'm not surprised because if you go back to Marriage Boot Camp, but it wasn't marriage, it was Family Edition, Aaron and Jane were on there, and I guess it shows that he had that relationship with Jane to go live with her. Let's see. You know, it's also kind of messy, but not really, because this lady technically raised Angel was Ginger Carter. I remember seeing Ginger Carter for the first time on House of Carters when she came to visit with Bob. And, you know, Ginger went on there and she spoke, I wouldn't say highly, but she didn't bring drama to the situation. She was very calm about it. She didn't cry. I don't think she cried about it, but she was just, maybe I shouldn't say calm. I should say classy. She was very classy. She was a classy woman. I wish all stepmothers were like that, but we all know it's not like that. But she was very classy. She married Bob at 28, so her and Bob were an age gap couple. She felt bad for her stepkids. I guess she wanted to really, she was, because when I watched House of Carters, she just gave off not the type to do drama and be mean to the kids and all that stuff. So she was very classy and a mother figure to Angel because obviously Angel went to go live with Bob. Aaron went to go live with Jane, and I guess Jane and Angel didn't really have much of a relationship at that time. Ginger's daughter, so if you guys remember the situation with Jane breaking into Bob and Ginger's house. I was going to say Bob and Jane's, which is technically Jane's house, but she moved out and I guess they bought, I don't know. But during that fight, when Jane broke out, Ginger had her daughter from her previous relationship. Her baby was was downstairs during the fight, and Ginger was trying to get to her baby. She wasn't trying to fight Jane. She was trying to get to her baby, which I completely understand. So remember I told you guys that I wanted to get back to Aaron's financial situation. So obviously his parents were stealing from him, mainly Bob. But Bob was also stealing from Nick too, which is a level of low that is below hell, honestly. So I told you guys about the account in California for child stars where they have to put money away in it. So Aaron had $2.5 million in the account, right? But he owed the IRS $2 million. If we do the math, that don't leave him with nothing that his career has reached. That man should, again, have at least $100 million in the bank. And also, you know what I forgot to mention? Aaron Carter did some movies, too. And he was in Lizzie McGuire. And when you do TV on cable and them royalties, they pay very well. So he should have got some money from that, too. So I think this was like the first part. The second part, I didn't take a lot of notes for because I was like too busy boohooing, but I do have some parts here. So the first part I wanted to talk about is that Nick, he was sitting and telling Angel a story about how he did like a talent show and he won $150. And he gave the prize money to Bob directly so Bob could pay the bills. I'm going to say this one time, and I always thought this for years. That boy should not have given him that money. That kid should not have worried about the bills. Parents, I don't know what their deal is about telling kids about their bill stresses, their children. There's nothing they can do about that. So he should not have given him that check. It just didn't make no sense to me. He should have took it to get something he wanted, but not have to worry about the bills. I had never understood that. So continuing on with part 2, the Carter family, they rooted for him during Dancing with the Stars. I remember when Aaron was on Dancing with the Stars. So I actually spoke to Aaron Carter on the phone years ago. This was during like Text Now or Speak Now or something. So he put up a phone number. Now this is not his real phone number. I could not go back and call him at 2:00 in the morning because I want to talk to him. No, this was like a Text Now number he probably turned off. And I spoke to him and I think this was during the time of Dancing with the Stars. He seemed like he was in a great place. Like, you know, he was a very sweet man, honestly. And this was during the Dancing with the Stars. And then that's when Angel met her husband, Corey Conrad, and him and Aaron were like best friends, which I love to see, like when an in-law comes in and they're close with the family. So there's no jealousy there. Oh, you took my brother from me, blah, blah, blah. I love seeing that, you know, people are coming into the family awesomely. Leslie and Aaron used to talk about death and dying young all the time. And you know what's crazy? Tupac used to do the same thing. And look what happened. And that's why they always say the power of the tongue. The power of the tongue. And the wedding. This is the last fact I have because, again, y'all, I was like boo-hooing. I was boo-hooing and I couldn't even write anymore. But Angel chose Jane to be at the wedding and not Bob. And Bob was in his feelings to Angel about it. So, Mandy Stars, I give it a 4 out of 5. I like that we saw archive footage of home movies from the Carter family, Nick and Angel's actual conversation, seeing them in the same room, not on the phone, speakerphone, like they normally do on other documentaries. It was good to see that they were hanging out. Also, I also saw that Nick was in Skokie and Angel flew to see that show. I was wondering if they went to the beach in Evanston, because I think that's the closest beach to Skokie up north. What I disliked was it made me cry. I've never cried over a documentary ever in my life. And tears was just flowing from my eyes because I love me some Aaron Carter. Even when he got off the rails and he was talking about Donald Trump and all that stuff and being crazy, I still had a special place for him in my heart. Another thing I did not like was that BJ's story was very short. Like, they give Aaron and Angel and Nick and maybe Leslie too all this time, but then BJ's was like, here, 5 minutes on BJ. She reached out to BJ. BJ says, I'm sorry, I'm on drugs. BJ died. Like, I didn't like that. I wanted to know BJ's story too, even though she was not famous. I wanted to know a little bit more on BJ. So yeah, 4 out of 5. I enjoyed it. It is on Paramount Plus, so if you guys want to check it out and cry, you can. And thank y'all for tuning in. I have another episode coming up for you guys, so I'm going to work on that. But if you are new, if you're listening on YouTube, you can like, share, and subscribe. If you're on your favorite podcast platform, give it a share, give it a follow, and I'll talk to y'all soon. Peace.